What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Saturday, January 15th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 9-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the point guard position. I like Alec Burks from the New York Knicks playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing point guards, and Alec Burks has averaged 24.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 28 minutes per game with a 19% usage rate. He's projected at 27.6 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 30 fantasy points or more in this matchup, get you over 5 times value. He's $5,800 DraftKings salary, 100 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 213.5 points scored in this game, and Alec Burks has scored 34, 29, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 31, and 33 minutes. So I like Alec Burks here versus the Atlanta Hawks. Okay, another point guard that I like is Devontae Graham from the New Orleans Pelicans playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Devontae Graham has averaged 27.1 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 31 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 27.5 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times the value. He's $5,500 DraftKings salary, same price on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 228 points scored in this game, so you got a high-scoring game, a great matchup, and Devontae Graham has scored 33, 24, and 18 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 33, 31, and 31 minutes. He's also scored 30, 24, and 33 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Nets. So I think he can go for 30 plus fantasy points in this one and get you over 5 times value. So I like Devontae Graham here versus the Brooklyn Nets. Okay guys, it's time to announce the winner of our $25 weekly PayPal giveaway. And the winner is Mario Rodriguez Jr. Congratulations, Mario Rodriguez Jr. You are the winner of this week's $25 PayPal giveaway. Please reply to our comment to collect your prize. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. Oh, let's see, is that my shooting guard or my small forward? Well, he is eligible at both positions, shooting guard and small forward. So I like Cedi Osman from the Cleveland Cavaliers playing the Oklahoma City Thunder, who have the 3rd worst defense overall. They give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards, and Cedi Osman has averaged 20.6 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 23 minutes per game with a 20% usage rate. He's projected at 22.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.2 times value. He's $4,300 DraftKings salary, same price on FanDuel. And Cedi Osman has scored 22, 14, and 21 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 23, 30, and 30 minutes. So I like Cedi Osman. Actually, real quick, take a look at his last 4 games here versus the Thunder. He scored 25, 23, 29, and 38 fantasy points in his last 4 games versus the Thunder. Vegas thinks there's going to be 209.5 points scored in this game. It's a great matchup, and I like that player versus team history. So I like Cedi Osman as a value play here versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. And another potential value play here, eligible at the point guard and shooting guard position, is Facundo Campazzo from the Denver Nuggets, playing the LA Lakers, who have the 5th worst defense overall. They give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Facundo Campazzo has averaged 19.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 15% usage rate. He's projected at 20.4 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5 times value. He's $4,100 DraftKings salary, $1,400 more on FanDuel, so I prefer that DraftKings price. I'd probably play Cedi Osman on FanDuel because he's only $4,300 FanDuel salary, where Facundo Campazzo is $5,500, so you got to spend a lot more on Facundo on FanDuel. But Vegas thinks there's going to be 224.5 points scored in this game, so a high-scoring game, fantastic matchup, and Facundo Campazzo has scored 46, 17, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 27, 28, and 22 minutes. And he scored 35 and 28 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Lakers. So I like Facundo Campazzo here versus the LA Lakers.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on.
Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Bruce Brown. This is another value play for you. Bruce Brown from the Brooklyn Nets, playing the New Orleans Pelicans, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing small forwards. And Bruce Brown has averaged 17.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 22 minutes per game with a 14% usage rate. But he scored 31 fantasy points last game, played 26 minutes. So I'm hoping he can get 25 plus minutes in this one. He's only $4,300 DraftKings salary, $900 more on FanDuel, and he's got a good track record here versus the Pelicans. Scored 19, 34, 36, 27, and 21 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Pelicans. Vegas thinks there's going to be 228 points scored in this game, so another high-scoring game here. So I like Bruce Brown as a value play here versus the New Orleans Pelicans. Okay, let's take a look at the power forward position. With all those value plays, you should have plenty of salary in your lineup for this stud. So I like DeMar DeRozan from the Chicago Bulls, playing the Boston Celtics, who have a good defense overall. They've been good versus opposing power forwards, but DeMar DeRozan has averaged 40.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 35 minutes per game with a 31% usage rate. He's projected at 38.6 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 42 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's 8,500 DraftKings salary, 500 less on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 219.5 points scored in this game, and DeMar DeRozan has scored 32, 27, and 46 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 29, 32, and 26 minutes. Now, I like this pick because although it is a back-to-back, he only played 29 minutes last game, and he scored 54, 62, 37, 44, and 30 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Celtics. So he's got that 50-plus fantasy point upside. Last 2 games have been fantastic versus the Celtics. So I like DeMar DeRozan here versus the Boston Celtics. Okay, moving on to the center position, I like Robert Williams from the Boston Celtics playing the Chicago Bulls, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing centers. Robert Williams has averaged 29.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 12% usage rate. He's projected at 31.6 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 35 fantasy points or more in this one. He's 6,900 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 219.5 points scored in this game, and Robert Williams has scored 34, 21, and 45 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 31, 22, and 41 minutes. So I like Robert Williams here versus the Chicago Bulls. And just real quick before we get out of here, take a look at Mitchell Robinson as a value play at the center position. Mitchell Robinson from the New York Knicks playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 6th worst defense overall. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Starting to lose my voice here a little bit, but I want to give you guys this pick. Mitchell Robinson has scored 39, 37, and 22 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 25, 31, and 28 minutes. He's projected at 24.3 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's only 4,800 DraftKings salary, 300 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 213.5 points scored in this game. So he's got that 35 fantasy point upside, low salary. I think it's a good value play. So I like Mitchell Robinson here versus the Atlanta Hawks.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.